Hi and welcome to part 2 of this video. Now if you just joined us and you haven't seen part 1 yet, I'll put a link up at the top. I suggest to go back and watch that one first, as you have missed quite a bit. So I posted part 1 a few days ago and I've had quite a lot of replies, mainly by Instagram, 1 or 2 by YouTube, and they've all been quite surprising. I think everyone so far liked the cars that I've had. So as I say, if you've not seen it, go back, watch that. If you have seen it, then this is part 2. Now again, this is going to be probably quite a long one, as I've still got a few cars to go through. So again, if you want to grab a coffee or something, pause now. Okay, so if you're continuing or have got your coffee, then let's begin. Now I finished off the last video with mentioning the Zetec S Mondeo that got wrote off. Now, yeah, really annoyed about that one. But what I'll do is, I said in the first video, I'm putting in a few bonus cars, for cars that have been in the family, but I've also driven or drove quite frequently. So I'm going to start off with a bonus car, and it'll all make sense. Again, I'm looking down at my laptop because there's a lot of info to go through. But yeah, it'll all make sense as I go through it. So hopefully, you should be able to follow. So, as I say, I'm going to start off with a bonus car. This one was my wife's one. And this one's got a quite good story behind it, to be fair. So at the time, we only had the one car, which was the silver Mondeo, and we basically wanted a second car. Now, we looked around at different cars, but we didn't have much money, so we were looking around at cheap cars, basically. And I saw an advert, which I don't have a copy of, unfortunately, and all it said was literally Fiesta, NREG, and its price. I'm not going to tell you that yet. So I was thinking NREG, well, that's going to be a Mark III Fiesta. So I thought, great, know quite a bit about those, I'm having them previously, let's go and have a look. So I rang up, arranged a time, went to drive, park up, have a look for it. As you do, couldn't see it anywhere. I'm not going to say much about this person because for different reasons, basically, but they were getting on a bit, and I don't think they knew much about cars. So knocked on the door, they answered it, and noticed straight away they had the key in the hand, and that definitely wasn't a Mark III Fiesta key. So it took us around the back and showed us the car, and I think myself and my wife were just stood there and we were just like, yeah, okay, let's have a look. So without further ado, basically we saw this Fiesta Mark VI, which I'll put photos on now. And it was, I didn't know what to think basically at the time. I'd looked around it, it had done literally 58,000 miles, and it was an 03 reg Mark VI, and it was a 1.4. Now, I'd say this person probably didn't know much about cars, because from the registration it was an 03, but the last letter on the end was an N. So they probably thought it was an NREG and advertised it as that. So lucky for us, we came, we saw it, liked it and bought it. Now obviously the price of this car was £500. We didn't really haggle, seeing as though the car was probably worth about 1,200 quid, maybe £2,000 at the time. We just said, yeah, okay, we'll buy it. Gave her the money, she was happy, we were happy, and drove off. So but it was a really nice car. It had never been thrashed, it was pristine basically. I had 1 or 2 marks on the exterior, but nothing I couldn't sort. Had the cream interior, as I say. I think it was a gear actually, if I remember, so I had all the bits on it as well. But it needed a cam belt because that had not been done, but literally from the history of it, even for a brake light bulb, it had gone to the dealer. I think the charge is something like £15 for a brake light bulb to be fitted, but so we had a really good history on that. If we look at the MOT as well, it expires in 2015 with 69,000 miles on it, and the MOT is clean. Now sadly this car came to an end because it was wrote off, and my wife was in it at the car. Basically, I'll say a kid in his parents' BMW wrote it off. They basically tried to, my wife rang me and they spoke to me, and they basically tried to say, we're going to fix it, don't go through insurance. And I was like, it's a little bit dodgy. I'm going to go through insurance. but they were pleading that they were going to fix it. But yeah, a bit sketchy like type of thing. So, and you can see from the damage as well, it would have required a lot of work. So that was wrote off. Now the bad luck doesn't end there, because I mentioned the Mark III Mondeo in the last video, as I say. Now this car was actually wrote off before my silver one. So this one got wrote off, and then 2 weeks later my Mondeo got wrote off. So yeah, both cars in a matter of 2 weeks, which was very frustrating, as you can imagine. Definitely some bad luck there. So yeah, well, I'll move on to my wife's replacement next, because try and keep it in line, as I say, trying not to overcomplicate things. So while hers was wrote off and we still had mine, we were looking for another car. So I'll do that one first, and then I'll do my other one after. So as a second bonus car for the start of this video, so I think about a few days after having no car and trying to borrow my dad's, we did find her replacement, because hers were a lot easier than what mine was, because obviously I'm picky with what I want. But I did stumble across this car, which is a Ford Fusion. So this was a 1.6, it's a little bit rarer than the 1.4, obviously because it shares the same engine as the Fiesta, which is a 90 brake version. To be fair, it was pretty nippy on the car. Obviously she liked the Fiesta that she had before, but she wanted something a little bit bigger but not too big, so the Fusion was a good replacement. We didn't do any mods to it, but to be fair, it already came with the extra silver trim that you put on the photos, and it did look quite nice, to be fair. It was a bit different. I even took it to a few shows, to be fair. Got a few looks as well. So I had this car for a while, but eventually sold it. The MOT, for look, it's still on the road. Its last MOT was October 23, and again it's done 185,000. So again, you know, even a 1.6 can easily do, you know, near 200,000. I did service the car quite a bit, you know, looked after it. It's just to show. So the car was sold, as she wanted something a little bit bigger, you know, upgrading. Moving back to my Mondeo, because I was a little bit more picky, my insurance was a bit of a pain. Obviously, theirs was straightforward because we managed to get the money back on their insurance because they admitted fault. Because I was hit by an uninsured driver, as I say, that did a runner, I ended up claiming against myself, which at the time, if I knew, I probably wouldn't have, just had the car recovered and just either sold it as scrap or maybe tried to fix it, I don't know. But at the time I needed the car, I claimed against myself, got peanuts back for it, and my insurance skyrocketed. So I would have liked maybe a Mark III ST, but I think the insurance came back at like £2,500. It was stupid considering that I was paying something like £500-600, you know, for that Mondeo. So yeah, I couldn't really go anything too mad. So I went to an auction and I managed to find this next car. Now this was, looking from the photos, no, it was a Mark III again, because obviously I had one before, so I had some parts that I was able to take off, so it made sense. But this was a Mark III Mondeo. This was a Gear X this time, still 2 litre, 138 brake horsepower. It was a 2006, and I say I picked this up at auction for, I think it was about £1,500, so with fees it worked out about £1,800, which was really good because at the time these were still fetching maybe 3k, so it was a good deal. I know the MOT on it, I remember it was only, I think, like a week or two. It was a bit of a risk, but decided to go with it. Luckily it all went through. I ended up fixing 1 or 2 things over the time I had this car, but yeah, I did do a few mods to this, mainly because I'd done the mods to the previous one. I found it quite easy to do the same to this one. Now I think the first things I did was upgrade the alloys to Titanium X, because the Gear X alloys aren't great. The Titanium X ones, I did like those. They were the closest things I was going to get to the Z-Tech S ones, because they're quite expensive at the time. So also after that I was able to transfer the plate, and put the FF04 ORD plates back on this car. So this next mod, I was looking for a set of these for the Z-Tech S, but never found any, but managed to get some, which are the LED rear lights. Now these are really nice. They're quite not that common as well, or weren't at the time, and they were a little bit expensive, but really set the car off nicely. It made it very different to other Mondeos that are out and about at the same time. Now with this one, as I say, I did do a decap bigger intercooler, same things as what I did as the previous one, but joining a few other Mondeo groups on Facebook at the time, I was able to join in on a dyno day. I did get this remap just prior as well. So this one actually came out at 173 brake horsepower, and I think it was 315 foot-pound of torque. If I can find the dyno print, I will put it in. And I'm sure I've got a video somewhere of this, so I'll put that in as well if I can find it. So eventually, of running around in this car, I decided that I didn't need a diesel anymore because I changed jobs and got a job that was really close to home. So I decided to sell this car and trade it for another. Now, jumping onto its MOT, its last MOT was in 2019 with 120,000 on it. From what I can see, it needed a subframe, which again are common things for Mondeos. Other bits on the MOT aren't that bad, so maybe it was wrote off or scrapped. Again, maybe scrappage cream, who knows. But nothing to say why, from here anyway. So yeah, that was that car. So moving on. So I traded that car in and I picked up this next car. As I say, I didn't need a diesel, so this was my time to get something that I've always wanted. After having that car for a while, my insurance did, come down quite a bit as well, which allowed me to buy this car. And this is, if you've been following me for a while, you'll know this car, but this is the Mark 6 Fiesta ST150. It's the one that you've probably seen if you've been looking at some of my videos. And yes, this was a 2009, so it was very, one of its last years of production. And I think it had something like 62,000 on when I bought it as well. So I splashed out a little bit again, because it's something that I've always wanted, an ST. And I say I couldn't afford the Mondeo at the time, and it made sense to buy petrol. The Focus ST was way too expensive, so this was a good car to start with. So also as well, like I say, this is the car that I started YouTube off. But before actually starting YouTube off, I did a few things like custom exhaust, plates went on, ram air filter, the custom gel overlays, and I think my very first video after that was the Lego battery. Now, I get asked as well, why did I start YouTube? Now, it's a good time to go through this. Now, I could have started YouTube a long time ago when I had the Mondeo or the Mondeo ZTEC S, because like I said with the first video, the cameras are a bit crap at the time and you couldn't really do videos. But from that point, we had iPhones and the video quality was quite decent and the internet was a lot quicker as well. So the main reason I think is basically confidence. I was watching YouTube at the time, and different videos on what people did. But yeah, it was confidence. With the Fiesta guides, it was different. You basically took photos and you wrote a text with it. Being on video, putting yourself out there on YouTube, like what I'm doing now or have done for a while, is very different. It allows you to be open, exposed to, criticism, keyboard warriors, and everything else. But yeah, eventually, after getting... Well, when I first started, you've probably seen a few videos where I didn't speak, I just did text and, started off that way. And then I met another YouTuber called R23R, which I'm sure you all know if you're familiar with the channel. Also J Mono and one or two others, and they gave me the confidence just to say, just do it, and basically it started from there. But basically, I think it was more confidence that stopped me doing it. I wish I could have gone back now if I was able to do this and go through all those videos and all those mods, because I think, doing videos on those type of things that I did would have been really interesting. But you know, it is what it is. It's how things have happened. But yeah, I feel like I'm rambling now. But the idea is I started YouTube to do video versions of guides, which takes you back to the Fiesta guides, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'll stop rambling now. But so for those that have been following the channel from the beginning, you will see that I did various things to the SD150. I did the TR kit, headlights, various other things. I'm not going to go through all of them, but you can see all the videos if you want to go down the video. Go onto the channel, look at all the videos. They are all on there. But yeah, I did quite a bit to that car, really enjoyed it, did quite a few shows. And yeah, basically I felt after, I think it was 5-6 years of ownership, it was time to move on. So looking at the MOT, I do know it's still current, as I do speak to the current owner. I know the MOT history is fine, so I'm going to miss that one out. But I think currently it's done near to 100,000, so I know he has used it. I did do a video on it a while ago, so if you want to look at that one, it's in the video list as well. Now, moving on to the next car, which is number 8. Now, I did have the ST at the time. This was where the side project started. I wanted something to fill my time a little bit. I think this is when COVID started, or I think it was just before. And I wanted to have a go of welding at all things. Now, I looked at going onto a course and they were mega expensive. So I thought, well, I wanted something for the channel as well, so why not buy the cheapest car I can find, Ford preferably. And that's where I came across number 8. So this is, again, I say if you've been following, but I will carry on just for if you don't know. This is the Mark IV Fiesta, the gear, a 1998 S-Reg, which came with a 90 brake horsepower, I think there were. And as I say, this car I bought for literally £200. Let's say I wanted to find the cheapest one possible. I didn't care what it looked like really. I just knew that for £200 it's going to need some, and obviously it had no excuse me, obviously I had no MOT, as it had been sat on grass for 5 years. Now, if you know anything about storing cars, you don't sit cars on grass. It's not a good idea. So I knew from that, yeah, it was going to need some work underneath, which was basically perfect. I don't know whether I was taking on too much, but I decided to buy that car. So it was delivered, and that's when I decided to do the videos and have a play with it. Now, again, if you've seen the videos, you'll know full well what happened to that car. If you don't, I'll try and find a photo of what happened after a little bit of pokery. Yeah, it definitely was a project, alright. Now, when the car came, as it had been sat, it was covered in mould. It was a good project, you know, for the channel. Gave it a full clean, did a few videos on it. So it's all on there if you want to go back and have a look. Now, the problem with this car is I did spend a while fabricating, learning to weld on it. Granted, I only had a gasless welder and not that good, but it was something to get me going. And to be fair, I managed to get back together as best as I could really. I'll put a photo of, well, hopefully the beginning you'll see, and how it was after. And yeah, then it was time to sell the car. So with these videos, I did get some backlash. I was on about this to another YouTuber, usually fixing or tinkering, sorry I forget the name, I'll put it on screen. But yeah, basically when you do videos, you open yourself up to criticism, which I don't mind at all. I mean, if I'm doing something wrong, I don't mind if someone wants to tell me. If someone goes that step further and it's just completely negative, I just ignore it. But with the welding, some comments were positive, which was great, because, you know, positive comments are always good. People telling you how to do things or advising. But the thing is, people do welding as a profession, and I think these people that do welding as a welding as a profession are a little bit too hard sometimes on people like me. Now, I've done it on, you know, I bought this car as practice, no training courses or anything like that. I'm not even using, I say, decent stuff. And I say I got a few comments, but setting those aside, yeah, I enjoyed doing it, and as I ignored the negative comments. But yeah, I'll stop waffling again. But moving on, I say, when I got it back together, cleaned it all up, I didn't have the money to MOT it. So basically I wanted to sell it without an MOT. I wasn't too fussed on making money on it because it was just a welding project, but I decided to have a go, and I think I put it up for like $350, hence now it was all cleaned up and it didn't have a big hole in the back. And a nice chap from one of the Facebook groups bought it, so I sold that for $300. So yes, I made £100 profit, but I bought the gear as well, so it kind of worked out about right. But it was great fun. I say it was videos for YouTube, you lot to watch, so can't argue with that. So also the guy that bought it off me, he did get it through an MOT. I know he had to spend a little bit on it. If I just look at the MOT, apparently it only lasted a year. It only had 61,000 on, so again, not a lot for the engine. But yeah, maybe a cheap car for someone just to last a year. I assume it was probably scrap because it didn't get through the next MOT. It wasn't a great car, as I say. It was £200, but what can I say? So after that car went, I assume most of you know this car that's coming up next, but this was number 9. Now this is the Fiesta Mark III, the 1989 1.1, which is now, which I still own, which I'm sure you all know. Now this car was originally meant to buy and sell on. Now, like what happens most of the time when people buy cars to do that, because of my history with the Mark III, I couldn't sell it on. It brought back too many memories, and it was really fun to drive. I couldn't do it. Basically, all my time or videos of this car have been me putting it back together, or back to standard rather, because I think this car deserves to be put back to standard as it was. I know it's not completely standard. I like to think of it as OEM Plus because it's lowered and I've got the alloys which it wouldn't have at the time. So yeah, I've done all the few rusty bits. So it's previously been undersealed. So yeah, it's a good car to keep, and I don't see myself selling it. Basically, the idea is to keep it and teach my son, if he's bothered when he eventually grows up, mechanics or basic mechanics, and in that time I can have more fun in it. Now, if you haven't seen this car at all, and you're new to the channel, I did actually save this. Oh, sorry, I tell a lie. The 2 previous owners back saved the car from a scrapyard. I've done a video on that, so I'll either link it or have a look in the videos. But yeah, it was saved from a scrapyard, and thankfully for me, it's now in my garage. So I'm not going to look at MOT. I know it's currently okay and in my possession, so don't need to see where that one is. So yeah, after the ST150 went, I then moved on to my current car, which is the one I'm sat in now, and this is number 10. So I'm sure you all know, but if you don't, this is the Mark III Focus ZTEC S Estate. Now, I sold the ST150 because I ended up changing jobs again and I needed a diesel again, but also I needed a bigger car. That's why I've gone for the Estate. So yeah, all of it, or the few things I have done to this car have been documented are videos on YouTube. Done the gel overlays, removed the air restrictor, wind deflectors, not a lot, because I kind of do like how this car looks. I don't want to go OTT, I'm not 18 no more. But yeah, everything's good on it. The MOT is current, or at least I hope it is, and there's not a lot on there at all, so that's all good. So yeah, that brings us to the current day basically. So I hope you have enjoyed my history of all my cars. I'll say I know I've had some comments already on the first video, which have been good. So leave your comment down below on which has been your overall favourite. You can include cars from video 1 and this one. Also let me know why it's your favourite, because some people have just been saying the cars. Also again, if you want to buy me a coffee, I'll leave a link down below. Don't feel like you have to, I don't mind. If you want 10% this time, because I said pound last time, if you want 10% off cleaning products, don't forget to go to the Fresh Chameleon website. You can use the link down below or use this promo code FF04ORD10. I say that will get you 10% off. But yeah, I'm just going to leave it there because I can see the timer and I feel like I've waffled a fair bit again. But I say, I hope you enjoyed. If you want to like this video, even subscribe, I want to see more. Any of that stuff, I don't mind. It's completely up to you. If you watched all this and turned off, then that's fine as well. But for now, and this time not in the dark, I will see you in the next one.